Hello, this is Derek from Future Vision and Growth Norman, and I want to kind of like talk about the future that we're going to see in cities, kind of like what cities can do to help themselves. I think that's important when we're looking at like small cities, larger cities, and really the future of what AI and what technology looks like. And so we really need to like get ahead of that. What the EV revolution is going to change, as well as just being able to kind of showcase some of the places that I've been this last week. I had the opportunity to celebrate my beloved's birthday, and it was super cool. And so we got a chance to travel and do some sightseeing around our region. So we spent quite a bit of time in Oklahoma City, and things like that. I want to kind of share some of the things that I saw, some of the things I learned, and some of the things that I know are synergistically really interesting for cities. So let's start out with the idea that we know revolutions happen and they happen in a rapid pace. The AI revolution is happening faster than even I expected. We didn't hear about it until November of last year, and now it's coming off everybody's lips. Ultimately, what it does is it allows for an automated or an automatic system to handle things that maybe we either don't do anymore or things that are monotonous that can be done automatically. So what does that do? What does that change? The biggest thing I see it changing is it frees up some time for some people, but also changes the business environment. So if we're looking at the idea that people will have more time to do other things, then that allows for either more creative endeavors, a chance for them to go out more, the chance for them to spend more time in civic engagement and city development and promotion and things like that, where the AI can do some of those things like filling out forms or creating things like that. Now, the EV revolution is coming quickly due to major investment. I mean, we've had a lot of investment. We've been hinted at it, but so the cities that have the hookups for cars are going to be the smartest kids in the room, are going to be the smartest people in the room. Why? Because if you have to plug your car in and charge it, even for like 25 and 30 minutes, wherever those chargers are, someone's going to have to spend that amount of time in that area. So think about that. If we are strategically placing our EV chargers, we need to place them near places where they're going to spend money. So if you're going to think, if you're a downtown, like Norman downtown, or if you're a corridor like the Lindsay corridor or somewhere like that, where you want people to stop, eat, and spend a little bit of money, they can plug their car in for that 30 minutes. Then they're going to go into the store, they're going to go shop, or they're going to go downtown and they're going to go shop. So we want to make it as easy. We don't want to penalize them for spending time in that area. We want to make sure that they are getting that environment. If you're a small town, downtown Noble, for example, think about that. Like they could have those chargers in Noble, downtown Noble. Then you're going to Kendall's, you're going to Tiffany's, you're going to the new barbecue place. I said you're going to Big Daddy's. I'm like, you've got all these places to go, and you could spend that time there while you're eating lunch or hanging out, or you're going to Rose Rock. I mean, there's different things that are happening that can really be exciting. And so that's really cool. When we went to Guthrie last week, of course, Guthrie is known for their history. Why? Because they were the first capital. So they leverage it. It's beautiful. It is like a movie set. When you like go downtown, it's really stunning. The streets are very narrow, but they put a lot of people in them. The blocks are synergistically the same, and there are multiple blocks, of course. I love that. I love the fact that they do Christmas big. We've learned over the last year, if you do Christmas big, it's big bucks a la Sepulpa. I mean, it's like you look at Sepulpa, you look at Guthrie, you look at places that really do look at Chickasha, the areas that do Christmas big, it's a big buck shot in their arm as far as the economy is concerned. So making it Hallmark like or that experience something that is just fun for people is really, really important. And yes, you plan that 6 months out. 6 months, 7 months, a year sometimes. You've got to get those things started now because it comes up quick, believe it or not. It's very, very fast. So you need to think about your Christmas holidays now, what you're going to do to make your city stand out and be different or pull people in from your region. Um, it is just amazing to see kind of the differences. Oklahoma City. So last week we went and spent time and we ate at Hall's Pizza Kitchen, which is fantastic. Actually, we started out at the Collective. The Collective is a food hall. That's the second food hall we've eaten in like 3 weeks, because we ate at the Route 66 food hall up in the Tulsa area, and it was fantastic. It was incredible. The choices were amazing. So then we're like, well, we have food halls in Oklahoma City, so let's try it there. So when we went to the food hall, we went to the Collective. We've not done Parlor yet. It's on the list. But we did the Collective and went to their food hall, and the food was fantastic. It was really good. Ironically, 1907 barbecues where I ate in Tulsa. And I ate 1907 American burgers uh, in the Collective. So I'm kind of like I have a 1907 theme going on. Well, I don't know what it is, but for someone to see that number, I'm like, I'm hungry. And so there we go. So we have that going on. But so that was neat, and I love the concept of food halls because it gives a restaurant a chance to test the waters. And really, they can do a smaller space, bring the concept in, try it. If it works, great. If not, you get a new concept in and try it a different way. But it lets them do it before they go all in on a full building, and so they don't have to, build a brand new restaurant, put all the infrastructure money into it. They get to test it, and it's fun for people to go in and say, "I've got 7 or 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 different varieties." Now, all the concepts I've seen have had full bars with them, so that it is also a cocktail hangout space. So that's something you have to think about as well. It's like, how do you get people there in the evening time? How do you keep them there? Are you gonna have live music? What's gonna be, again, a little bit different in that way? I do not understand why Norman does not have one of these. Like, I just don't understand that. Because I think our culinary scene is fantastic. It truly is. But also give those startups a little bit of chance to play. And that may be part of what they're looking at for the old Copeland's building to add, again, restaurant concepts in there. If they let you go in and taste it and do that, it's interesting in that space that they can do that. But again, we're looking at a larger space than even that Copeland space and what it would look like to make that happen. Also, I'm looking at, like, green spaces and what that looks like. So, we have retrofitted buildings that need to have green spaces. Activating the sidewalks is a big deal. I will say still the very best sidewalk activation I've seen is Broken Arrow. They utilize it as far as seating, they utilize it as far as people hanging out, they've got the rose beds there. I mean, they really, like, the sidewalk is part of the integrated downtown. We have beautiful sidewalks in Norman, we have wide sidewalks in Norman. You just don't make it a place where people sit down, or it's just simply too hot, which could be true too. So, I will give the benefit of the doubt to say it could be a heat issue, but at the same time, I'm like, we're gonna look at fall time and winter and the things that we have coming up. How are we gonna activate those spaces? What are we gonna do with them? Um, Integrating all neighborhoods into the downtown and the whole energy of the city is also important because people are not only looking downtown. I know that sounds crazy, but they really aren't. They were looking at what does a neighborhood look like? What does a neighborhood feel like? When you go to a neighborhood, do neighbors know each other? Right now, we're going through a massive transition where I live. Why? Because we had a storm. So it changes things. You have people who come in, you have people that leave. And so we're seeing some changes in the neighborhood. I want that to be a positive change. So I'm getting to know people. I'm saying hello. I'm visiting. We're talking about what we want in the future. So there's things like that. We're seeing that, you know what, we have a lot of workers here. So we have a taco truck that comes in. And I'm like, going, I think a taco truck should come in all the time. I think you should have those. I want street tacos. If they roll up to my neighborhood, I'm going to be eating. And so that's interesting, and I know there are neighborhoods where they do that, where they invite taco trucks to the neighborhood, go and eat, and it might be a Thursday, Friday night. They go hang out, spend time together, eat, and talk to each other at the taco truck, or talk to each other at Sausage Sicilian. I mean, so there's ways that we were integrating those things in and creating those community spaces. Of course, we have Second Friday. Second Friday's tradition here. We have on Sunday Summer Breeze. We have Summer Breeze, it's tradition here. We have Jazz in June coming up, that's tradition. Summertime, we are very festival oriented. Now, wintertime, we have festivals and they're larger and it gets younger. I think also another conversation that we had, and because My wife is really funny. She was talking about Guthrie, and she said Guthrie seems like an old person's city. And I was like, huh. So we went there, and I mean, to be fair, it is very historically oriented. It is not necessarily geared towards young 20 somethings. I said it does have things that could appeal to them, but it is built for, you know, older people that want to go hang out, maybe enjoy the nostalgia and the history in the background. And they do things like red brick nights that is for music. They've had large scale festivals there. Of course, they've had movies filmed there. So there is an energy there, but is it a young person's town? Don't know. I mean, maybe that's an appeal that they're trying to make. So then I asked her, I said, well, then, okay, let's turn that mirror right back on us and say, what is Norman? Who are we trying to attract? And she stated this, and it was a good observation, and that is, she has friends that are young, friends that are in their 20s, and when they wanna go play, they leave Norman. They leave Norman and they go to Oklahoma City. Why? Because Oklahoma City has a lot of young people's attractions. They have things like there and there's things that we can't replicate, I'll be honest with you. We are still a suburban city. We're not a city of, 800,000 people. But at the same time, we bring in a whole lot of young people, like 30,000 young people, to this city every year for 9 months. So we are going to have to think about, like, okay, what do we do well and what can we do better? And that's something we are truly working on. And that relationship between the university and the students and the city has been something that's been worked on for years. So we are still working on that. And I think we can continue to work on that at an accelerated pace because we're going to like pick that up a little bit. At the same time, what do we do great? Like we have great things that we do. We are a family oriented city. If you are a family, this is the place to live. Why? Because we have massive parks, incredible education system. We have summer programs that can do art, music, robotics, aviation, anything you can think of in the summertime for your kids to get involved in. We've got you. We got soccer, we got baseball. I mean, all the athletics. I said it is a fantastic city. Not to mention we have like world champion softball team. Throw that in, of course. So we have like all these things happening. So for families and for world class athletes, we're an incredible city. But are we an incredible city for young people who want to play? That question is still out there. Again, I think we lose a lot by them going other places. Not that we won't. I mean, those that live here go to Oklahoma City and play, and Oklahoma City come to Norman and play. So we just have to again build that relationship, that synergy back and forth. So that was fascinating to me, and I thought, what do you do with that if you're like Noble, or what do you do with that if you're like a smaller city like that? And so in that way, Noble is changing. And I mean, I'm reading it. I'm reading the people in Noble saying it's changed so much because of course they're growing fast because we're growing fast, then they're growing fast because people are moving out of Norman going to Noble. Well, then Noble is shifting and changing. And because the more that we build out Norman, we're going to connect the two. The two will be connected. We're already essentially connected. There's about a mile where there's like technically no houses on 77, but if you go outside of that, they're essentially connected. And we're going to see more development on 77. So ultimately, it will be one city that moves in and out, and they'll be like a suburb of Norman. So that is going to be really interesting as that growth happens, and what we can do to help and work collaboratively with Noble, because I think Noble is one of our sister cities. They're next to us, like they're right next to us, and so anything we can do to collaborate and work together is fantastic. I also love the idea of regional tourism. And so we have collaborations with Moore, we got collaborations with Noble, we have collaborations at Lake Thunderbird. Of course, the Chickasaws have been a huge part of Norman's like history, legacy, and opportunity. The Riverwind is right outside of Norman. Ultimately, looks like it's in Norman, Goldsby area. We have, I mean, the Goldsby area. So the Chickasaws are very, very important to Norman, Oklahoma, and our relationship with the Chickasaws is very, very important to Norman. And so we welcome all of our tribal citizens and love having our tribal citizens in Norman, and also the investment that comes with that. We appreciate the tribes and all that they do to bring and elevate our city and help our city grow and build with programs, as well as us being able to educate their citizens and create incredible um, like human resource and human capital for them to utilize for their tribal businesses that are global. We also are really really excited about the future of music. I think again, and I'm gonna say this again, music is an expression of a culture and the way a city lives. So the idea that you share your music, that you express yourself more and you create more and you embrace more of that, I love it. I also love that you embrace local music. So we need to embrace our local musicians, our local music venues, all the things that we have. Of course, we have legendary music venues in Opolis and the Deli. We have newer venues in Hollywood Corners. We've got, I mean, so we're seeing all these incredible spaces. Legacy Park. I mean, our parks are an incredible space. Of course, Lions. Um, so we have all these different spaces that are coming up. We've got Red Brick. We've got, I mean, Blue Bonnet. I mean, we got all kinds of things. We have all kinds of different spaces. Plus, we have like breweries and wineries, and there's things like that have live music all the time. So we are ultimately synergy wise creating amazing spaces, amazing opportunities, incredible environment and community. But a declaration is important. A declaration of saying who we are. We are a sports music city. And I said, and we are really a sports arts music city. And that's who we are. Like that's really what Norman, Oklahoma is a sports music city. Because those are the arts, the music, and sports are the three areas that creatively Norman for. I said, why? Because live music is important. It's been a foundation of who we are. The arts, and if you have the Norman Arts Council is an absolute locomotive in Norman of being able to get stuff done. Yeah, I use a train reference because, of course, we have a train that goes right through downtown, which is fascinating when you're having events. It's like it's just part of the thing. But it really is an engine for us, and we couldn't do everything we do without the Norman Arts Council. So thank them and thank you for that. That's fantastic. We're looking at music. We're looking at all the artists that have built this area up and play the Deli, and the artists that play Opolis and have bought Opolis. I said we look at coffee shops in Norman where, yes, you could sit down and have a philosophical discussion about Nietzsche, but at the same time, you can sit down and talk about the OU football game that we just saw on Saturday or the softball games that we watched over the last 3 weeks. You are going to sit down and talk, and it brings everyone together, no matter where they're from, no matter what their economic situation is. We all have an awesome way of connecting by saying we love our Sooner softball team. I mean, that's fantastic. We're going to have the new Patty Gasso statue that will be in next year in front of the new softball stadium, which is going to be incredible, which rightfully so. You'll be able to visit that because, of course, she is legendary. She's a living legend, and we are lucky enough to be able to have her. But also just the sheer quality of people coming out of Norman and the sheer economic reach that we have is fantastic. Bring it home. So bring it home. Let's go. Let's do this. Yes, we are growing. Yes, we have growing pains. So does every great city. You want to be a growing city. You do not want to be a dying city. I've been through both. I've been through expansion and contraction. And let me tell you, expansion is much more fun than contraction. Contraction is difficult. It's hard. In small cities, I've lived in small towns where they lost population. I've lived in small towns where they lost schools, all that, and now they're reversing that trend as well because people are being attracted to rural environments. So what does that look like? Does it mean we have a rural neighborhood? My East Siders that are like no development, not quite. I said they're not. What they need to be advocating for is rural development, which looks like how do we create a food belt? How do we create a homestead belt? How do we create a space where you can have acreages and farms out there that maybe will grow food, and then there might be like food stands on Highway 9. Why? Because the cool part about that is they could keep the land, produce something, sell it, and then we have a food opportunity for people to be able to shop. So they could shop, it would become a regional draw for us because there would be food or fruit stands or food stands on Highway 9. It'd be a food belt. And that would keep it relatively rural, but at the same time, it would allow for it to become an economic engine for us, and it'd be a good place going for off out of Norman to the lake. And I said, so it's a fantastic way of looking at development maybe a little differently. So it doesn't look like maybe an urban development where there's like 500 houses in there, but there is development. But again, you control the narrative. And if you're like, no, 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 well, then it looks different than I'm preserving a way of life. And what can we do to be a part of the whole fabric of Norman versus obstinate and no, we absolutely don't want this and we don't want that. And it's like, and it becomes more like you don't want to be a part of the city, which is not necessarily an option because you're within city limits out a long ways. I mean, that's like saying you're not going to be part of Oklahoma City. Well, Oklahoma City is huge, and so you are going to be a part of it. So we're kind of like in that. But again, ultimately, I know some passionate East Siders and love them dearly. I live on the East Side, so that's a big deal for me as well. But I want to see that they are a part of that conversation, but also part of the way they want it to look. So we've heard we don't want this development, we don't want that development. Then tell me, what do you want? What development? What kind of development? There will be development. So what do you want it to look like? Do you want it to be 5-acre parcels? Do you want it to be 10-acre parcels? Do you want it to be homestead driven? I'm like, what kind of vision are you looking for out there that you can kind of build that out and create those spaces? Because I think again, important value to Norman is to have those rural homesteads and those rural houses and the places that you've built out there. But I also want to make sure that again, you're part of the development discussion because there will be development, but I want to make sure that you feel heard and engaged and brought in and listened to and all the things that you need. Because I think that's important too. Because you've been there for Norman for a long time. And so it's good that Norman can be there for your East Siders too. Um, Infill development. We're seeing more of that. Why? Because it's part of the thing again to try and not grow out, which is like again, that's cute. I think we'll be able to do it to an extent, but even if we did all the infill development, we're still gonna have to grow out. I mean, that's just the reality of a growing city that's growing fast. So we will have that happen, but we can do infill development and should. If there's spaces that need to be developed, develop them. If there is areas that need to be developed, develop them. But also we're gonna so let's do that. Let's get the thing full. Let's get it moving. But that will happen, and then we will start looking at what does it look like as we grow. Growing up is not easy in Norman. Norman has kind of made itself known to say that there's a height requirement where they want to stop. And so that's fair. I think that's a fair statement. But when we do that, that means we're going to grow out. You don't grow up, you grow out. Kind of, I mean, there it is. So I think that's something we have to look at as well. Again, we're looking at the rate of Oklahoma City growing quickly and speeding up. The faster that city grows, the faster we grow because people leave, they go to the suburbs, and they just said that I think it's something like 450,000 average housing price in Edmond. So half the people that live there couldn't live there at this point. So we are a more affordable option, and we are high. But so that is going to be an interesting dynamic. So if they can't live in Edmond, where are they going to live? They're going to find a city that's thriving, that's interesting, that has fun things going on, and has art and music and culture. That's Norman. So then guess what? They leave Edmond, they head to Norman. It is where we're at. And so again, what does that mean? What do we look like as citizens welcoming people? Do we welcome people? Are we welcoming everybody in? Yes, it's different. Yes, the city's going to change. Oh, the cities that I've been in have changed. I will say that. I lived in Altus. I lived in Weatherford. I lived in Oklahoma City for a while, and then Norman. So I lived in Paynesville, Minnesota for a little while, which is like 2,300 people. So ultimately, I've lived in a lot of small cities and large cities, and now I'm like a mid-sized city. And so I'm excited to see kind of like what happens. I love that part of it because I love to see the identity emerge and our identity emerge together and a place for people to live and play and engage and just create amazing opportunities for people. Because we want our kids to stay here, we want everybody to grow, and we want to bring in young people and energy and fun. And we want to have amazing spaces for retirees. We want to have incredible spaces for tech entrepreneurs, as well as creatives and children and teens and all the people involved in the different generations, because we are going to be a multi-generational, a multi-ethnic, multinational city that is going to create opportunities for everyone who wants to come here. And that is the most important thing, is that when you come to Norman, your opportunity can happen, and we're here for you. And we cannot wait to see you. Have a great day.